got it?
around the world, Sweden, and I can't remember the list, but there's a whole bunch of them. Very awesome. Yeah. So what is it we're saying? We're inviting and calling on Canadians to support the call for action that was made by the Assembly of First Nation Chiefs on December the 4th and reiterated again by Chief Teresa Spence on December 11th when she announced her hunger strike. What are we saying? We're saying that the time has come to hit the reset button on the relationship between the First Nations peoples and their treaty partner, the Crown of Canada. Idle No More calls on all Canadians to continue to oppose and reject all imposed legislation originating from the federal government. The unilateral imposition of these bills is in direct violation of the treaties and the treaty relationship that the original peoples of Turtle Island made with the British Crown. Indigenous peoples and nations have not been consulted during the crafting of these pieces of legislation, and therefore the actions taken by the federal government does not reflect the international standard of free, prior, and informed consent. There are many nations across this country, ourselves included, who are taking actions to reflect acts of Indigenous nationhood, sovereignty, and jurisdiction in response to the passing of legislation such as Bill C-45, and we must continue down this path. Prime Minister Stephen Harper has passed legislation to let China National Offshore Oil Corporation buy Nexen. This takeover deal, among other things, will put 3 to 6 billion barrels of tar sands oil in the China National Offshore Oil Corporation's hands. And it would create devastating global climate effects if the China National Offshore Oil Corporation exploits Nexen's reserves to their fullest extent. James Hansen, who is a scientist at NASA, took a look at this, and he calculated that if the China National Offshore Oil Corporation did exploit that oil field, what he found when he did the math, and I really believe if somebody from NASA does calculations that they're not going to be very far off. So what he calculated is that you have to take a look at the process of refining bitumen tar sand, because basically it's highly viscous, it's thicker than molasses, and what it is oil that's soaked into soil and clay. It's really thick, and the process of separating it out from the dirt requires a lot of heat, and what it does is they also use incredible amounts of water to be able to do this. I was reading on a website when I was doing my research that for every 2 tons of dirt is 1 barrel of oil. And there's 3 to 6 billion barrels of oil that are locked up in the lands right now, north of Edmonton in this big oil field. So what he calculated is that in the process of refining, in order to be able to get that oil to a state that it can be used for consumption, what'll happen is heat-trapping gases, carbon will be released into the environment, and that's what causes global warming. And from the 1700s, whenever the industrial age started, to now, he said the amount of carbon that's locked up in there, if they exploit it to their fullest extent, it'll release twice as much as has been consumed since the beginning of the industrial age. And he calculated that because of the amount of carbon that's locked up in there, he calculated that the world would get intolerably hot. And he calculated that it would get so hot that the ice sheets that are out, that are still like melting, would melt at an accelerated rate and would happen out of control. And that the water levels would rise 50 feet. And it would get as hot as it was the last time it seemed like that 2.5 billion years ago, or the Pleistocene era. And he calculated that 20 to 50% of the world 5 is an unconstitutional bill which illegally alters long-standing treaties between our two sovereign nations, effectively ending them along with our sovereign nation status. Not only does this drastically affect First Nations people, it also directly affects all North Americans and future generations. We are witnessing the systemic dismantling of environmental protections at a never-before-seen rate and scale. This is going to pave the way for irreparable damage to the environment and its inhabitants. We, the proponents of the Idle No More movement, are urgently asking you for your help. We need your help to alert and inform the international community and bring in sanctions against the Harper government for these numerous illegal and unconstitutional attacks on our environment and sovereign nation. It's our only hope to protect this great land and our future generations. We ask you to stand beside us and the leadership of First Nations and Métis people as sovereign nations and promote the understanding that the issues that all these provisions in the Omnibus Bill affects all Canadians. We are peacefully representing ourselves and timing our rally to coincide with the January 28th reconvening of the House of Commons, because this is when the MPs will get together and sit down in the House of Commons to discuss all of these issues. I mean, it's really upsetting that they would strip the rights of the people in a 400-plus page document and give it the name Jobs and Growth Act. I mean, there's nothing constitutional or respectful about what's happening here. So, what we're saying is that we will not stand idly by while those not yet born are robbed of their birthrights. So, what we want to do today is send out a message that we're not going to stand and let this happen. We're going to continue to come out and we're going to continue to spread this message. And we hope that people understand that when we're talking about our treaty rights, because the fact of the matter is, because our allies and those who are not yet our allies, they can only accept, I guess, really, the pieces of legislation as they come forward. I know that the Harper government is ramming through all kinds of pieces of legislation that really affect our democratic rights as people. But our ace in the hole as First Nation people is our treaties, because we are the true owners of these lands. And by standing up, saying, hey, listen, you're forgetting that we have an agreement, we have a contract. You can't just sign a piece of paper and say, there, now we're vacating our jurisdiction, it belongs to the province. No, it doesn't work like that. And we're going to continue to fight on behalf of our people and others in Canada to get that message across. So we're going to head out and do our march, and we hope that you're going to stick around with us. So I'd like to ask the flags and the drums and the pipe carriers to lead us, please. If you want to head out down Rody Street, and then is everybody looking at me? So down Rody Street, look right onto Arthur and make your way down. And then we're gonna hang a right on Lily Street, and then hook back onto Victoria. And we're gonna be passing the International Friendship Gardens. And we chose this route on purpose because that is the city's gathering place of all the nations, and it's symbolic of what it is that we're saying here today. And then we're going to come back and end with a round dance. Jimmy Gush. And the bells.
struck, and the bell rang. Get her mark.